Okay, so the Montreal Canadiens have traded Shea Weber to the Vegas Golden Knights in exchange for forward Evgenii Dadonov, as you can see in this tweet by the official Montreal Canadiens Twitter account. We were hearing from Darren Dreger earlier yesterday that the Habs were trying to get a deal done, but clearly they didn't waste any time as they get the trade done, and it's sending Captain Shea Weber to Sin City. If you take a look at the Canadiens' press release, they do already talk about the trade and how the GM of the Habs, which is Ken Hughes, has sent Weber over to Vegas. But before we even read any further, we gotta talk about Shea Weber as a player, man. His performance in last year's Stanley Cup final was undoubtedly amazing, and it's good to see him play in his last playoff series in a Stanley Cup final, and it's good to see him go off on a high note as well. Even though the Canadiens lost, I would most confidently say that he was a main reason why they were there in the first place. Hockey fans should all be familiar with Weber, of course, being the 36-year-old defenseman known for one of the hardest slap shots in the NHL, and he's making $7.8 million a year and is paid until 2026. This is a lot of cap relief for the next few years for the Vegas Golden Knights, which opens up a lot of LTIR space to be used. Moreover, Shea Weber was a leader for the Canadiens when the team needed him the most, and he was also a guy who took a lot of responsibility for himself. He was always carrying his own equipment bag rather than letting the equipment managers do it themselves. Honestly, Montreal should not forget about this guy as he was an integral part of their 3 Stanley Cup playoff runs since being traded for PK Subban in 2016, and it's also good that they're getting a decent player in return, which is Evgeni Dadonov. Kent Hughes, the GM, thanked Weber for his services and gave him acclamation for his work ethic and skill on and off the ice. And that's a good thing to hear because, Kent Hughes, such kind words, and so kudos to him. Dadonov, who's 33 years old, put up 20 goals and 23 assists to tally 43 points this season with Vegas. Now, it's pretty much normal to contemplate why Dadonov? Why is Dadonov on the move? Well, to start off with, we should note that he's been a good point producer in the past, especially with the stint with the Panthers, and it's also good to consider his 70-point season in 2019, where he's only 30 years old then, so clearly age is not seeming to be a huge factor in his point performance. He was also a player that the Knights wanted to get rid of because of cap constraints, as he was making $5 million a year till the end of 2023. Per cap friendly, he has a modified no trade clause and a 10-team no trade list as well, which reminds us of what happened during the trade deadline when he was shipped to Anaheim, but they had to cancel the trade because, unbeknownst to Vegas, Anaheim was on his 10-team no trade list, and he didn't want to play there due to the high taxes going on in California, which explains why the Sharks and the Kings are on that list too. It's kind of interesting how he was okay with going to Montreal though, considering usually players do not want to go to some Canadian teams for the same reason as California with the taxes, but maybe when he signed with Ottawa in 2020, he became accustomed to the Canadian culture and was maybe happy being there before going to Vegas. And honestly, that's good for Montreal fans because they should be pretty pleased considering how good Dadonov is at putting up points and can definitely strengthen the power play for the Habs, can definitely strengthen any of the 4 lines for the Canadiens. He has a very well-rounded game and managed to punch 20 goals on a Vegas squad that didn't really give him much opportunities. He scored some pretty clutch goals to help Vegas as well get closer and closer to a playoff berth, which we all know did not happen because they were 1 game away. Had the Stars not won, they would have been in the playoffs, right? So either way, he's coming to Montreal and a move to benefit the Habs in 2 ways. It gets rid of Weber's contract, and it's going to bolster Montreal's roster, and it will benefit Vegas by filling in that LTIR space that they needed to fill. And during the trade deadline, going back to that, it was apparent that when Evgeni Dadonov was traded to Anaheim, that Ryan Kessler's contract was coming back the other way, and that would have helped Vegas still fill that LTIR space, but since Weber's contract is a bit higher, it gives them a bigger benefit to fill that space. And either way, Shea Weber will still be missed by the Canadiens, and when he does indeed retire, he will certainly be remembered as a great defenseman and absolute classy leader. Let me know what you guys think about the trade in the comments. Thank you guys for tuning in, and have a wonderful day.
Yeah.